Welcome back to another video in our web development series. We've been going through a lot of HTML basics, and now we're going to look into HTML lists and tables. So in here, I have a folder with just one file in it called index.html. And this code, if you delete that, this is just generated automatically by if you type an exclamation mark and then use this Emmet abbreviation. Now replace that document with HTML lists and tables, and that's exactly where we are. So inside of here, let's just say I want to have a list of some of the things we're going to learn in this course. So UL stands for unordered list, and this unordered list is going to contain just things that we're going to learn in this class, and each one of these things is going to be a list item, which is LI. So Shift Alt and then hit down a few times and you can copy that line. So in this course, we're going to learn HTML. And then we're also going to learn cascading style sheets, CSS. We're going to learn JavaScript. And then after all of these, we're going to learn React. Okay, so now if I go ahead and save my file, you can see I got a list here of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React, and they all have this black circle. Now, if I wanted to change that, I can say there's a type attribute here that I can change, and I can say type equals square, and then save that, and you can see now square is going to be just a black square. And then if I change it to circle and save it, that is going to be a kind of a hollowed out circle. And then if I say disk, you can see now we're back to where we started. So that disk is going to be the default bullet point icon. Now, let's say we wanted to change this and make this instead of an unordered list, we want this to be an ordered list. So let's get rid of that type. And instead of UL, if I change that to OL, whoops, not object, OL, well, now this is an ordered list. So if I save that, now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. Let's say I wanted to add one more list item up here. And inside of this list item, I was going to say something like web development basics. And then inside of basics, I'm going to list out all of the things that we would consider to be basics or fundamentals for learning web development, which would of course be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's cut those out, and I can make another ordered list inside of here, and I can paste HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript. Go ahead and save that. And now you see I've got one web dev basics, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then React. So I can actually put a list inside of a list. And just like the unordered list had a type attribute, so the ordered list also has a type attribute that we can change. And in here, if I leave it at the default, I'm going to get numbers, but I can also do Roman numerals. If I do a capital I, you can see now I have an I and then II. Or I could do, and let me just add a few more list items in here just so that you can see. Let's see, MongoDB, Node.js. Okay, so now you can see that this is doing Roman numerals. If I change that to a lowercase I, well, then it does lowercase Roman numerals. And then in here, I can, there's two more things that I can use. Type equals, I can say capital A, and that's going to give me A, B, C, D, etc. Or I can say lowercase a, and that's going to give me lowercase a, b, c, d, etc. So that's basically it for lists. They're pretty simple, pretty easy to work with, not terribly complicated. So let's move on to tables. Now, if you've ever worked with Microsoft Excel or a similar spreadsheet program, basically you're working with a table in that program. So it's a set of rows, which are going to be the horizontal lines, and then columns, which are going to be your vertical arrangement lines. So in here, basically to make a table, we just use the table tag, and then inside we're going to put all of our different headers and then the data. Inside of the table, we are going to have two different things. We're going to have our T head, which is going to be the table header. And then after that, we're going to have the body, the T body, which is going to be your table body. So the header is going to be all of the different headers on the columns. And basically, we're going to say TR, which is going to declare a row for our table headers. And then inside of that row, we can say TH, make that a tag, and let's duplicate that a few times because that's going to be every header that we want to have in this. And let's just say we're doing maybe students for our class. We can say first name, last name. We can say student number, and we can say grade. So now if I go ahead and save this, you can see we get a list of the first name, last name, student number, and grade. But it doesn't really look like a table. It just looks like a line that's bold. And that's because these are all headers, but inside of the body, we have to actually put the data. So to do that, we can have a table row. And then inside of that table row, we need to have, because we have 4 headers, we should have 4 columns, which means we have 4 pieces of data that we need to fill. So we could say TD for table data, and then duplicate that using Shift, Alt, and then the down arrow. And in here, we can say, I don't know, Jim Smith, and let's just say his student number is 1. He's the first student in the class, and he is getting a B+. So now if I were to save that, you can see I get Jim Smith 1, and he's got a B+. So if I were to take this entire thing and highlight all of that, let's duplicate that a few times. You can see I have, if I were to save that, they're all going to be exactly the same now. So I've got 4 Jim Smiths with a 1 and then B+, B+, B+. Let's just change a few of these. Maybe we have John Smith, his brother, and he's number 2, and he's just a little bit better student. He's getting an A. And after that, we have Joe Smith. I don't know why not. I guess all the brothers are in the same class here, and he's getting an A-. And then finally, we're going to have James, and I don't know, James Lawson, and he's number 4. And instead of, let's just say he's not doing so hot in this class, he's getting a D-. So if I were to save that, now you can see we've got all of the first names in column 1, all the second names in column 2, and then all the student numbers and all of the grades listed each in their respective column. Now, if I wanted to, because first name and last name, it looks a little bit crowded there. We don't have a lot of room. What I could do is actually, I could put both of these under one header. I could say just the header name, and I can say column span or call span. And instead of leaving that at the default, which is 1, if I change that to 2, and then delete the last name entirely, well, now this name field, this name header is going to span the first 2 columns instead of having 1 column for each of them. And now if I were to save that, you could see I get the name, and it's got all of the names, and the header is actually over the first name and the last name. And then I get the student number and the grade, each in their respective columns. So again, pretty basic. It works pretty similar to any other table in any other computing software. You've got the rows, you've got the columns, and then the headers, and you can kind of customize that and play with that within the HTML. Hopefully this quick overview of lists and then headers has been, lists and then tables has been helpful for you. Definitely subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any future content coming out, and we will see you in the next video.